everybody. Welcome to the Football Fundits. This is your FPL Gameweek 37 segment. And with us today, we've got a very special guest. His name is Armaan Charna. Yes, that's the man with the funny faces. Quick introduction to Armaan. Armaan, first of all, good to have you, man. And for those of you watching, very quick intro. Armaan right now has a team called Breast Homage Albion. Very interesting name. And what's more interesting is his current India rank. He is ranked at 161. And his worldwide rank is 4,800 out of a total of 7 to 8 million teams. Do the percentile for that and you'll just know how crazy that rank is. So Armaan, welcome to Football Fundits. This is the Game Week 37 FPL episode that we've all been waiting for. We'll jump straight into it. So here's a brief overview of what the fixtures look like. It's Norwich, Burnley, Bournemouth, Southampton, Spurs play Leicester at the new Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, Brighton, Newcastle, Sheffield United at home to Everton, Wolves take on Crystal Palace, Watford host an in-form Man City, Aston Villa take on Arsenal, United play West Ham, and Liverpool play that big fixture against Chelsea at Anfield. So Armaan, you've been having a fantastic season. And before I get into what some of your biggest tips have been, who do you see as the top players to look out for moving into Game Week 37?
I reckon the thing to really look out for is going with players from teams basically who have still something to play for. I think that's going to be really important, especially over the last two legs. And this would be across the league table. I mean, you have a few teams fighting for the top 4 spot, for example. So I'd look at those fixtures of those teams and pay a little more attention. Then you also have scramble at the other end of the table, essentially. And you're looking at certain teams who are fighting really hard. And for those teams where it's still mathematically possible for them to, avoid relegation. Mm-hmm. So, and I think normally, even in previous seasons gone by, it gets more important to look at players from those teams because they're still fighting and they still have a lot to play for. And I think that makes a huge difference, especially at this time of the season. So I would be paying attention to teams from these two ends of the table, essentially.
Sure. So I think that would entail players from Watford, West Ham, who actually play each other. No, sorry, West Ham play United, but you're looking at Watford playing West Ham tonight, but you're looking at teams from maybe Brighton, Palace, West Ham, Watford, Bournemouth fighting for relegation survival. And on the top part, you're saying maybe stave off Liverpool, City, who are number 1 and number 2, and instead go for the Chelsea, Leicester, United, Wolves players, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, see, I personally still have Trent and Salah in my team. I've kind of persisted with them since the project restart has happened, but I'm not too happy. And because you sometimes you still just want to keep them on for one more week, thinking that, this is the time they're going to unleash and you don't want to miss out on those points. And that's the tricky part, but I'm really having thoughts on, doing something over there. Having said that, they're playing a very inconsistent Chelsea at home. And maybe after their extremely weak performance at Arsenal, where they're basically giving away goals for fun now. I don't think their hangover is quite over yet, but their overall play has been quite rubbish. But again, like I said, Chelsea aren't exactly consistent as well. Everyone thought they're going to smash 5 or 6 against Norwich. Even that the previous week you have a midfielder who's now playing as a striker, banging in 4 goals for fun against Norwich. So, and, they play amazing one week and they play absolute rubbish the next. So I'm not too sure over there. I would look at, now, for example, I would look at the Brighton-Newcastle game, and I'm thinking that Brighton have a good opportunity to get 3 points in. They've been playing some very solid and consistent football, if not spectacular. And then again, I'd also look at Sheffield versus Everton, because Sheffield would still like to finish up as high as possible. This is probably their best Premier League season ever, if I'm not mistaken. And Everton themselves are showing signs of inconsistency. I'd look at those teams. Wolves versus Crystal Palace. Again, Wolves are also fighting for that spot with Sheffield in the Europa League. I'd look at that as well. Man City is always a lottery because you don't really know what they're going to put out.
That's right.
And even our best laid plans can sometimes go to waste. I mean, that turned out to be to my advantage this week, and I'm quite thankful to Pep for that. So from one takla to another, thank you. But apart from that, he's been an absolute nightmare. Simply because with the new 5 substitution rule that's been enforced,
Mhm.
it's going to be the same case throughout next season as well. So you've got to be really careful with any Man City assets.
Sure,
Um,
sure,
then
sure.
again, United West Ham is something that again I think it wouldn't be a bad idea to again triple up on United assets.
Yeah.
Simply because they have to get the results. I don't think they can depend on anyone. I mean, it's still in their hands. They have to win the last 2 games. So
Hmm.
I think United have played overall. They've played extremely well, especially in the attacking third. I think they're really building up some good momentum over there, and there
Sure,
seems so much cohesion in their play.
sure.
The fact that we didn't play the best game last night against Crystal Palace, in my opinion,
Yeah,
but still, whenever went forward, they looked an absolute threat.
yeah.
So I'd look at United as well.
Sure. So key takeaways from what Arman's told us is that Wolves are looking good, United are looking good. Look to triple up on your United assets. Pep's Russian roulette has obviously affected even the best in the game. So Arman seems a bit rattled by that. I'll come to you, Annie, to our second part, which is differentials going into game week 37, right? And there are a lot of teams that aren't necessarily performing the way Arman is, and therefore the differentials come into a big factor, right? Because if you're looking to climb your leagues without the KDBs and the Sterlings, so who, according to you, might be some of the differentials to look out for?
I know the moment I mention his name, you all are going to have a laugh. But Son Heung-min, he's had a drop in price. He's had a drop in ownership. He's not been picked because people think he was playing too far, on the left because of Giovanni Lo Celso, right? But if you look at Son's ownership, it's below 10%.
Mm-hmm.
His price is good. Yes, 9.6 is still expensive for a midfielder. But I don't think a Leicester side without Soyuncu, without Chilwell or Fuchs on the there, I think they're there for the taking, and I think Spurs will easily beat them. So you want
Sure.
to have Kane and Spurs and hold on to Aurier. Don't take him out. Yeah, he concedes sloppy goals in the last 2 games, but the assists come in. That's my team to look out for in differentials. Spurs players.
Yep. Kurt, I'll come to you. I'll ask you both. Who, according to you, are maybe one or two top players that you absolutely must have going into game week 37? And maybe who are one or two differentials that you can look to have in your team?
For my differentials, I'm going to go to the other side of North London and go with Arsenal. They have Aston Villa and Watford in the last 2 games. And when you look at those fixtures, those are the ones that you're getting your points in. And I'm going to give a shout to Eddie Nketiah. He's at 1.5% ownership at this point of time. He was out with the red card for the last 2 games. So it's not like he's injured. He's going to come back fit. He'll give that rotation option to Arteta after Arsenal have played the weekend. So I think he's a shoo-in to get minutes at least in the next game, to start the next one and possibly get some in the last week as well.
Yeah.
Nketiah is my differential. If I'm looking at a player to have, like a must-have, I think it's going to be Anthony Martial because as we've harped on the show time and time again, the United power playing as a midfield, so he gets that extra point for goals, extra point for clean sheet.
Yeah.
He's at 48 points in the 3 home games post-lockdown, 67 points since football has resumed.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
same as Fernandes. So everyone keeps saying Fernandes is the must-have to have. Martial has the same points as him. And now also developed this thing with Rashford, right? So I think Martial is the must-have for me there.
Yeah. Arman was talking about it earlier. He spoke about, I think, one of the players and how they just don't fire. I call it the Marcus Rashford paradox. We've all had Marcus Rashford in our team since restart, and he's only just started firing. And it's very difficult to drop players like him because you always think the next game week is when he's going to get that brace, right?
Yeah.
So that's an interesting one. I'm going to come back to Arman on a few specifics. Arman, going into 37 with a sort of with one eye on 38 as well. Who would you look to captain into game week 37?
There's a few options, to be honest. Martial is a very good bet for captain for the next week. I'd also look at a Spurs asset. I think Son is a very good option as well. Leicester, I think I agree with Animesh. They are there for the taking given the injuries that they have. And they also have been quite inconsistent as well. They haven't really been firing on all cylinders, and their patchy form dates back even pre-COVID restart as well. Apart from that, Wolves are playing Palace as well. So if Jimenez has again begun score. As soon as I removed him from the team, he began scoring again quite promptly. So he's come into some form.
Yeah.
But I think on the balance of play, you are looking at a United or a Spurs asset for the coming game week primarily. I think it will be amongst them, given the capacity for goals.
Sure. Anything to add to who you'd probably look at captaining this game week?
No, in fact, I was a little scared. Okay, this is a United fan opinion coming in, so bear with me. I think to have United versus West Ham as an easy fixture where you think Martial or Bruno might get goals off the 2-day break of playing Chelsea is a bit worrisome. So I think to be safe, I'd probably still go with the Spurs asset. I would go with maybe Son, and if not Son, and I know we've spoken about Pep Roulette, but has to be a City player. City player is a safe option. Anybody. Now I know that the game week starts tomorrow before the FA Cup fixture against Arsenal. So I think out of safety, you probably just take in Jesus. Jesus would be a good captain choice, given that they want a striker to play 90 minutes.
Karan, I know that you spoke of the Arsenal game and Arsenal being a differential side almost to pick players from, given the ease of their fixtures, right? So would you actually be looking at captaining an Arsenal asset into this game week?
I know I've backed an Arsenal asset, but I don't have any at this point, so I can't really captain one. I'm going to look at what happens in the West Ham game tonight. I think if West Ham win that game tonight, then they might actually come to Old Trafford a little more relaxed.
That's right.
And therefore be there for the taking. So then I might go with the United asset for that. They'll be sort of just comfortable. But I would give a shout out to City. They're playing Watford. Any other day of the week, City versus Watford is a great one.
I mean, yeah.
It obviously, FA Cup makes things tricky. But with the City team, you get at least some minutes. And even if you captain David Silva, great part about that is he either plays 0 minutes or he plays 90 minutes. He never comes out for 1 or 2 minutes. So you have a good vice captain. And if you captain Silva, it could be a great option.
Don't jinx it.
Before I move into chip strategy with you, I believe you might have a few chips left, if I'm not mistaken. Or have you used all your chips?
I used my free this week. I know I said I'm going to save it for the last game week, but this week was just too tempting with the City and Chelsea.
Peer pressure.
Not being able to bring in a Chelsea player and keep them for the next few weeks. It just made sense to bring them in, and it sort of paid off. It's green arrows everywhere. So it's paid up. But what I am doing as my strategy then is I'm not actually doing a transfer this week. I'm going to try really hard not to make a transfer this week and bank 2 for the last one, where then I can move some money around and make some more changes.
I think there were 2 main callouts that we had on FPL last game week as well, which is Anthony Martial looks like someone you should absolutely use, because like Pranil told us, and Pranil was late riser 12 who came on game week 34, like he told us, there is never going to be a time when you're going to get to captain or even use a Manchester United number 9 on FPL who costs below 9. And I think it's a once in a lifetime sort of opportunity to grab. And Martial's been, like you said, on even points with Bruno Fernandes since the restart. So he's someone that I'll be personally looking to captain as well. Before we sort of wrap this up, I know that you touched upon maybe Man City and Pep's Russian roulette, and how David Silva is on his farewell tour, and this is the last 2 games he's going to be playing for the club. So it's very likely that they're going to be putting in 180 minutes for David Silva going into this, and he's been getting some points. So maybe that's another player to look out for. Between Annie, Armaan, and Karan, any tips on chip strategy for whoever might have a free hit left? Is this the game week to play it, or do we wait for game week 38?
No, if you have a free hit left, right, do it for game week 38. That's what I was going to do ideally. But unfortunately, the composition of my team last week was so imbalanced that I had to use it. But ideally, it would still be best to keep it for game week 38.
Okay. Armaan, is this the game week to still sort of use your triple captain if you still have it? Or would you wait?
I'd definitely wait, because there are some very tasty fixtures actually in game week 38. So for example, I have the bench boost left, which I'm planning to use in game week 38.
Okay.
Again, you have Arsenal versus Watford, which I think will be a good match. You have Man City versus Norwich.
That's right.
City Norwich is going to be another match as well.
Yeah.
And so I definitely say it for the last, because in the last game week, what happens is that every team knows what they have to do. So you automatically are going to get teams, say, between the 9th to the 14th place. I mean, those who don't really have much to play for, depending on the table composition of next game week. But I think using a chip for the last game week does have its own unique payout. If you get it right, then you have a very good potential to hit 100-point, have 100-point game week in the last game week, and that kind of really kind of shoots you off the table as well. So yeah, if you have it, you should keep it. But I also think it depends on your current team composition. You don't want to just keep your chip for the sake of keeping it. Now, if you have the players, for example, in game week 37, who can give you those points, then why wait for game week 38? Someone getting the points on the board.
Good point you mentioned, because see, a bench boost is something I'm using this week because I have bench boost left and triple captain next week. But the thing with the bench boost is you don't take a -8 to make a bench to get points. That doesn't make sense, right, guys? Keep that in mind. Unless you're
neutralizing the chip then by doing that.
Exactly. Unless you have 4 or 5 million in the bank, which you were saving for this, and you can get a very big asset and afford to leave him on the bench because otherwise be careful with how you use the bench boost.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Karan, before we wrap up, Karan, any last comments from you? I can see that you have something in your mind.
Yeah. So I'm just going to put some, I know we've touched the attacking front a lot. I'm just going to put in a couple of points on defenders just in case anyone's defense is in array. I know I would not gently say if you're okay with the defense, don't make those changes and try to get the attacking returns. But if you absolutely have to, then Burnley are the team to go for it. Nick Pope's been having a phenomenal season. The 23 bonus points, which is an FPL record, apparently is still going for the Golden Glove. If you're looking for a defender, Tarkowski is my pick from those people, because you're looking at teams that are playing Norwich, and that happens to be Burnley playing a toothless side right now. Tarkowski gives attacking potential as well. So I just want to put that. If anyone looking for defense, then that's the team to look at.
Fantastic. So guys, thank you so much. Before we wrap, since we have Armaan Charna with us today, and since he's killing it this season, Armaan, we're going to end this segment with maybe 1 or 2 points from you on what you believe has sort of brought you to where you are today, right? You're 160 in the country, or 4,800 overall. Obviously, there are those 1 or 2 things that you're doing right. So what would you leave us with? 2 tips from the expert.
So I would say that those who've kind of had 2 or 3 Liverpool assets throughout the season would have been fantastic for them. Nick Pope, when mentioned again to him, because he's been my keeper from week 1. I've not changed him at all. I've had Mr. Button, who's 3.9 on the bench, who's also not been changed at all throughout the season. I think it's fantastic for a team like Burnley for him to give you 12, 13 clean sheets and those number of bonus points that was just mentioned. I think that's insane. So I think there are a few players who have not moved from my team for a long time. Bruno's been in the team as soon as he came in, because for me it was like a bet, because how we were playing such rubbish and there was no link between midfield and the attack, and there's no harm, and he's performed from week 1, so there was no reason to remove him at all. I mean, on his so-called bad days, his standard is so high now. On his bad days, he's putting an assist and people are getting pissed off, but hey, there's an assist to his name,
Fair enough.
So I think
that's good.
So if you have like 3-4 of these players who are a constant in your team, then you have that spine, and then you just need to make a few changes so you don't end up taking too many -4s. And that's the biggest learning for me this season, not to take minus points as much as possible,
That's right.
So I would say that's about it.
Fair enough. So familiar advice. I know Karan Bawari's come on before and also said that, we take -4s way too easily, and that's something that costs when you actually add up towards the end. So guys, thank you for watching. This was our Game Week 37 plus FPL segment on the Football Pundits. If you enjoyed this video, do smash a like, do subscribe, share the love, share our videos, give us some following because we really need it. Armaan, thank you so much for coming on today. We wish you well for the remaining 2 game weeks. And
thank you guys. Good seeing you.
You can obviously follow us on our handles. It's been posted down here. You can follow Armaan as well. These are his Instagram and Twitter handles if he's on it. And on behalf of the Football Pundits, Abhishek Iyer signing off. Thank you so much, guys. Cheers.
Bye-bye.